The discovery. Dr. Lena Vasquez squinted at the satellite images flickering across her screen, a frown etched on her face. The world's leading meteorologist had spent countless hours studying hurricane patterns, but the data before her defied all explanations. Lena leaned back in her chair, rubbing her tired eyes. The soft glow of the monitors illuminated her small office at the Global Weather Research Center. She glanced at the clock. 3:27 a.m. Another late night chasing the elusive anomalies that had consumed her thoughts for months. With a sigh, Lena refocused on the images. She had first noticed the strange discrepancies a year ago. Subtle irregularities in hurricane formation and movement that deviated from established models. Initially, she had dismissed them as outliers. But as more data accumulated, a disturbing pattern emerged. Hurricanes were behaving erratically, as if guided by an unseen hand. They would unexpectedly change course, strengthen or weaken without warning, and sometimes even appear to merge with one another. Lena had cross-referenced her findings with historical records and cutting-edge simulations, but nothing could account for these bizarre occurrences. As she delved deeper into the mystery, Lena made a shocking discovery. Hidden within the satellite imagery were faint traces of unidentified objects, massive structures that seemed to be orbiting within the eyes of the storms themselves. At first glance, they appeared to be an artifact of the imaging process, but further analysis confirmed their presence in multiple independent datasets. Lena's heart raced as she enhanced the images, revealing the intricate details of the objects. They were clearly artificial in nature, with smooth metallic surfaces and symmetrical shapes that stood out against the chaotic swirl of the hurricanes. The implications were staggering. These were not of human origin. She leaned forward, her nose almost touching the screen. The objects were unlike anything she had ever seen, their sleek contours suggesting advanced technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. Lena's mind reeled with the realization that humanity was not alone in the universe. But why were these extraterrestrial craft hiding within Earth's hurricanes? Were they merely observing, or did they have darker intentions? The thought sent a shiver down Lena's spine. She quickly compiled her findings, meticulously documenting every anomaly and observation. She knew this information would change the course of human history, and the weight of responsibility settled heavily on her shoulders. As dawn broke over the city, Lena finally leaned back in her chair, exhausted but determined. She had uncovered a truth that could no longer be ignored. Earth was being watched by an unknown alien presence, and they had chosen the fury of nature itself as their hiding place. Lena reached for her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she dialed a number she had hoped never to use. The voice on the other end answered immediately, and Lena took a deep breath before speaking. "This is Dr. Vasquez from the Global Weather Research Center. I have an urgent matter of global security to discuss. I have evidence that we are not alone in the universe, and the threat is hiding in plain sight, within our own weather patterns. We need to act now." The line went silent for a moment, and then a terse reply came through. "Understood, Dr. Vasquez. We'll be there within the hour. Prepare to brief the World Security Council." Lena hung up the phone, her heart pounding. She knew that her discovery would set in motion a chain of events that could either unite humanity against a common threat or plunge the world into chaos. But one thing was certain: the fate of Earth itself hung in the balance, and time was running out. Project Tempest. The World Security Council convened in an atmosphere of urgent secrecy. Leaders from every nation gathered in a heavily guarded compound, their faces grim with the weight of Dr. Vasquez's revelations. Lena stood before them, her evidence projected on massive screens that dominated the room. "As you can see," Lena explained, "these anomalies cannot be explained by any known natural phenomena. The objects hidden within these hurricanes are clearly artificial, and their presence suggests an intelligence far beyond our own." Murmurs rippled through the room as the implications sank in. Some leaders exchanged nervous glances, while others leaned forward, their eyes fixed on the images. Dr. Vasquez, a stern-faced woman, spoke up, her voice carrying the authority of the United States. "Are you suggesting that we are facing an extraterrestrial threat?" Lena nodded solemnly. "I believe that is the only logical conclusion. These objects are not of Earth, and their ability to manipulate our weather patterns suggests a technology we cannot yet comprehend." The room erupted into a cacophony of voices, each nation's representative vying to be heard. Some called for immediate military action, while others urged caution and further study. The debate raged on for hours, but as the evidence mounted, a consensus began to emerge. "We must act swiftly," the Chinese delegate declared, his voice cutting through the din. "If these aliens are hiding within our storms, then we must find a way to flush them out and confront them on our own terms." Nods of agreement rippled through the room, and the World Security Council turned to Lena for guidance. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the monumental task ahead. "I propose Project Tempest," Lena said, her voice steady. "We must develop a new class of battleship, one that can harness the power of hurricanes themselves. By controlling the very storms that our enemy hides within, we can turn the tables and gain the upper hand." Silence fell over the room as the audacity of Lena's plan sank in. It was a gamble, but one that held the promise of a fighting chance against an unknown adversary. Dr. Vasquez, the Russian representative, spoke, his brow furrowed. "What you are suggesting has never been done before. Is it even possible?" Lena met his gaze unflinchingly. "With the combined resources and brilliance of every nation on Earth, I believe it is not only possible but necessary. We must put aside our differences and work together if we hope to save our planet." In that moment, a newfound unity descended upon the World Security Council. The threat of an alien presence had accomplished what no treaty or diplomacy ever could. It had united humanity against a common foe. "Then it is decided," the U.S. representative declared. "Project Tempest will commence immediately. Dr. Vasquez, you will lead the scientific efforts to develop this groundbreaking technology. And we need a military leader who can oversee the construction and operation of these Hurricane-class battleships." All eyes turned to a man who had remained silent throughout the proceedings. Captain Alexander Novak, a decorated naval officer with a reputation for unorthodox tactics and unwavering bravery. "Captain Novak," the representative continued, "you have been chosen to lead Project Tempest. Your experience and leadership will be invaluable in this endeavor." Novak rose to his feet, his jaw set with determination. "I am honored to accept this responsibility. Together, we will face this threat and protect our world, no matter the cost." As the meeting adjourned, Lena and Novak shared a meaningful look. They knew that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and that the challenges ahead would test them in ways they never imagined. But with the power of human ingenuity and the fury of nature itself at their command, they dared to hope that victory was within reach. The race to build the Hurricane-class battleships had begun, and the future of Earth hung in the balance. The Tempest rises. In a secret shipyard hidden deep within the heart of an unnamed island, the first Hurricane-class battleship began to take shape. Under the watchful eye of Captain Alexander Novak, an army of engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to bring Dr. Lena Vasquez's vision to life. The UNS Tempest, as it had been christened, was a marvel of human ingenuity and determination. Its sleek, angular hull gleamed beneath the harsh floodlights, a testament to the cutting-edge materials and construction techniques employed in its creation. At the heart of the Tempest lay the revolutionary weather manipulation technology developed by Dr. Vasquez and her team. Vast arrays of sensors and emitters lined the ship's exterior, designed to interact with the complex systems of hurricanes and bend them to the Tempest's will. As the months passed, the Tempest began to take on a life of its own. Its crew, handpicked by Captain Novak for their skills and dedication, worked around the clock to master the intricacies of their vessel. They ran countless simulations, pushing the ship's capabilities to their limits in virtual hurricanes of increasing strength and ferocity. Dr. Vasquez and her team remained on site, fine-tuning the weather manipulation systems and analyzing the data streaming in from the Tempest's sensors. As the technology matured, they began to conduct live tests, venturing out into the open ocean to seek out real storms. The first test was a moment of truth for the Tempest and its crew. As they approached the swirling vortex of a Category 3 hurricane, the tension on the bridge was palpable. Captain Novak stood at the helm, his eyes fixed on the roiling clouds ahead. "Engage weather manipulation systems," he ordered, his voice calm and steady. The Tempest surged forward, its sensors reaching out to grasp the threads of the storm. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly at first, but with gathering momentum, the hurricane began to change. The crew watched in awe as the Tempest exerted its influence over the storm, guiding it with a steady hand. The hurricane's winds shifted and swirled, its course bending to the ship's will. The Tempest rode the waves with unnatural grace, a dancer in the midst of nature's fury. As the tests continued, the Tempest's mastery over the storms grew. Category 4 and even Category 5 hurricanes proved no match for the ship's power, and the crew's confidence soared. But their success did not go unnoticed. In the depths of the storms, the alien presence began to stir. They had watched with growing unease as the humans' strange new vessel challenged their dominion over the hurricanes. As the Tempest ventured into yet another storm, the aliens decided to act. A massive otherworldly craft emerged from the eye of the hurricane, its sleek black surface pulsing with malevolent energy. On the bridge of the Tempest, alarm klaxons blared as the alien ship registered on their sensors. Captain Novak's eyes narrowed, his hand tightening on the helm. "Red alert," he barked. "All hands to battle stations. Dr. Vasquez, I need options." Lena's fingers flew over her console, her mind racing. "The alien ship is interfering with our weather manipulation systems," she reported, her voice tight. "We're losing control of the storm." Captain Novak's jaw clenched. He knew this day would come, but he had hoped for more time. More time to prepare, to understand their enemy. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. "We hold the line," he declared, his voice ringing out across the bridge. "This is what we trained for. This is our moment. The Tempest will not yield." As the alien ship bore down on them, the crew of the Tempest steeled themselves for the fight of their lives. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and they would give everything to protect their world. The storm raged around them, a maelstrom of wind and rain and raw, primal power. And in the heart of that tempest, two vessels, one human, one alien, prepared to clash in a battle that would echo through the ages. The time for hiding was over. The time for truth had come, and the UNS Tempest would lead the charge, riding the fury of the hurricane into the very maw of the unknown, the gathering storm. As news of the UNS Tempest's encounter with the alien craft spread, the World Security Council convened once more. The atmosphere was electric, charged with a mixture of fear and determination. The time for secrecy had passed. The world needed to know what it faced. In a historic address, broadcast to every corner of the globe, the leaders of Earth revealed the existence of the alien threat. They spoke of the strange ships hiding within the storms, and of the Tempest's valiant efforts to confront them. And they issued a call to arms, urging every nation to unite behind Project Tempest and the brave men and women who crewed the Hurricane-class battleships. The response was overwhelming. Millions volunteered for service, eager to play their part in defending their planet. Resources poured in from every country, as the world's industries retooled to support the war effort. In shipyards across the globe, new Hurricane-class battleships began to take shape, each one a gleaming beacon of human resilience and ingenuity. But even as humanity rallied, the aliens made their move. In storms across the world, their ships emerged, no longer content to hide in the shadows. They attacked with devastating precision, their advanced weapons cutting through the traditional ranks with ease. The Tempest and her newly christened sister ships met them head-on, their weather manipulation systems straining to assert control over the storms. The skies above Earth became a battleground, as ships of human and alien design clashed in a deadly dance of lightning and thunder. Captain Alexander Novik found himself at the forefront of the conflict, the Tempest spearheading humanity's defense. He and his crew fought with skill and bravery, outmaneuvering their alien foes and turning the power of the storms against them. But the aliens were relentless, their tactics adapting with each engagement. They began to target the Hurricane-class battleships directly, recognizing the threat they posed to their dominion over the storms. One by one, humanity's greatest weapons fell, torn asunder by the alien onslaught. On the Tempest's bridge, Captain Novik gritted his teeth as another salvo rocked the ship. Damage reports flooded in, the once mighty vessel battered and bruised from endless battles. "Dr. Vasquez," he called out, his voice straining to be heard over the chaos. "We need a solution, and we need it now." Lena's face was lined with exhaustion, but her eyes burned with determination. "I might have something," she replied, her fingers dancing over her console. "If we can lure the alien ships into a convergence of storms, we might be able to overload their systems with a massive surge of weather energy." Captain Novak nodded grimly. "Do it. We'll buy you the time you need." As Lena worked feverishly to set her plan in motion, the Tempest and her remaining sisters fought like cornered beasts. They hurled themselves into the fray with reckless abandon, drawing the alien ships into the maelstrom. The storms converged, hurricane winds howling and lightning splitting the sky. The alien ships, drawn in by the Tempest's irresistible bait, found themselves trapped in the eye of the cosmic storm, their shields flickering under the onslaught. "Now," Captain Novik roared, and Lena unleashed her masterstroke. The Tempest's weather manipulation systems surged, channeling the raw power of the storms into a single blinding lance of energy. It struck the heart of the alien fleet, a spear of lightning and rain and howling wind. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then, in a cascade of explosions, the alien ships began to fall, their systems overloaded and their hulls shattered. The storms tore into them, ripping away sleek black metal and leaving only broken ruin in their wake. A cheer went up from the Tempest's crew as the last alien ship vanished into the depths, the storm claiming its prize. But even as they celebrated, a somber realization settled over them. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. The aliens had been beaten back, but they would return, their fury redoubled. The war for Earth had begun, and the Hurricane-class battleships would stand at the vanguard, armed with the fury of the storms themselves. As the Tempest limped back to port, her hull scared but her spirit unbroken, Captain Novik turned to his crew. "We have won a great victory," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of responsibility. "But the real battle lies ahead. We are the Tempest, the storm made manifest, and we will not rest until Earth is safe and the aliens driven from our skies forever." The crew nodded, their faces set with grim determination. They had tasted the fury of the storm, and they would ride it to the very end, no matter the cost. For they were the Hurricane class, the defenders of Earth, and they would not yield. Not now, not ever. The gathering storm had broken, and in its wake, a new era had begun. An era of heroes, of legends, and of the indomitable power of the human spirit. Nature's fury unleashed. In the aftermath of the first great battle, the crew of the UNS Tempest knew that their work had only just begun. The alien fleet had been shattered, but the threat was far from over. Somewhere out there, beyond the storms and the stars, the enemy was regrouping, preparing for their next assault. Captain Alexander Novik and Dr. Lena Vasquez worked tirelessly, poring over every scrap of data they had gathered from the alien ships. They sought any weakness, any chink in the enemy's armor that they could exploit, and as they delved deeper, a grim realization began to take shape. The aliens were not just hiding in the storms, they were drawing power from them, using the raw energy of the hurricanes to fuel their ships and their weapons. It was a symbiotic relationship, a dark mirror of the Tempest's own weather manipulation technology. Lena's eyes widened as the pieces fell into place. "That's it," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's how we beat them." Captain Novik leaned in, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "We use their own tactics against them," Lena explained, her words coming faster as the plan took shape in her mind. "We lure them into the heart of the strongest hurricane we can find, and then we turn the storm against them. We overload their systems with so much raw energy that they'll be torn apart from the inside out." Novik's eyes gleamed with a fierce light. "It's a dangerous gamble," he said, "but it might be our only chance. We'll need to coordinate with every hurricane-class ship we have left. This is an all-or-nothing play." The plan was set in motion, and the Tempest led the charge. They raced towards the mightiest storm on Earth, a behemoth of wind and rain and lightning that had been christened Hurricane Olympus. The alien fleet, sensing the challenge, surged to meet them, their ships bristling with malevolent energy. As the two forces converged on the storm's heart, the Tempest and her sisters began their deadly dance. They wove in and out of the hurricane's walls, drawing the alien ships deeper and deeper into the maelstrom. The winds howled, and the seas churned, the raw power of nature unleashed in all its terrifying glory. Lightning danced across the hulls of the battling ships, and thunder roared like the drums of war. It was a scene straight from the apocalypse, a clash of titans that would decide the fate of an entire world. And at the center of it all, the UNS Tempest fought like a demon possessed. Her weather manipulation systems strained to their limits, channeling the storm's rage into a vortex of destruction. The alien ships shuddered under the onslaught, their shields flickering and their hulls groaning under the immense pressure. Captain Novik stood at the helm, his eyes narrowed against the wind and the rain. "Hold steady," he roared, his voice rising above the din of battle. "Just a little longer." And then, with a final earth-shattering roar, Hurricane Olympus unleashed its full might upon the alien fleet. The storm's eye collapsed inward, the winds reversing and tearing at the enemy ships with 1,000 hungry mouths. Lightning arced from ship to ship, chaining together explosions that lit up the sky like a second sun. The alien mothership, a vast and terrible thing, buckled under the onslaught. Its hull shattered, unable to withstand the incredible forces unleashed upon it. Shards of black metal rained down into the churning seas, the once mighty vessel reduced to little more than scrap. A cheer went up from the crew of the Tempest as the last of the alien ships vanished into the storm's maw, consumed by the primal fury of the earth itself. They had done it. Against all odds, they had turned the tables on their enemy and claimed victory in the name of all humanity. But even as they celebrated, Captain Novik knew that this was not the end. There would be other battles, other storms to weather. The aliens had been beaten, but they would not forget. They would return, armed with new weapons and new strategies. And when they did, the hurricane class would be waiting. The Tempest and her sisters, born in the heart of nature's fury, would stand ready to defend their world once again. For they were the storm incarnate, the wrath of an entire planet given form and purpose. As the Tempest sailed out of the dying remnants of Hurricane Olympus, her hull battered but unbowed, Captain Novik stood tall on the bridge. He looked out over his crew, pride and determination etched on every face. "This is only the beginning," he said, his voice carrying across the deck. "We have shown the aliens the true power of Earth, the strength that lies within the human heart, and we will never stop fighting, never stop defending our home. For we are the hurricane class, and we are the storm." The crew roared their approval, their voices rising to mingle with the howling winds. And as the Tempest turned her prow towards home, the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating a world that had been forever changed. A world where heroes walked the earth and rode the storms. A world where the indomitable spirit of humanity had faced the unknown and emerged victorious. A world where hope, courage, and the untamed fury of nature itself had forged an unbreakable alliance. And in that moment, as the UNS Tempest sailed towards the horizon and the promise of a brighter tomorrow, the crew knew that they had been part of something greater than themselves. They had been part of a legend, a tale that would be told for generations to come. The tale of the Hurricane class, the ships that had harnessed the power of the storms and saved an entire world from the brink of annihilation. The tale of Captain Alexander Novak, Dr. Lena Vasquez, and the brave men and women who had fought beside them, united in their determination to protect their home and their people. And as the sun set on that historic day, the crew of the Tempest knew that, no matter what the future might bring, they would always be ready. Ready to face the storms, both literal and figurative. Ready to stand against the darkness and the unknown. Ready to fight, to sacrifice, and to triumph in the name of all that they held dear. For they were the Hurricane class, the defenders of Earth, and they would never, ever surrender.